Hi there, I just pooped. Or did I? Of course, you should wash your hands afterwards with nice warm water and soap, which I've left outside. But this is just for demonstration purposes. I found my soap. So this week, what we do is we set up a temporary bathroom. We finally get rid of that disgusting toilet. And we set up a mirror and vanity. Hand washing, toilet, whatnot, you can't really use because you have, well, you can use, you just have to fill up that bucket and manually flush it. What would be nice is if we had this barrel here connected to another on-demand pump to a tank system, which I do have that toilet, you know, in the breezeway. I did buy it. And basically have this fill up the tank, and then so you could flush, you know, you could pee a couple times and, you know, not have an issue. That would be nice. And the dehumidifier itself actually puts out approximately 6 gallons of water a day, which is pretty crazy. Hey guys, welcome back. So it's another late night here, and I kind of wanted to show you guys a couple of things that are going on. So first off, we've had a massive humidity issue. So I ended up having to buy 6 dehumidifiers, and there's one of them. There's a bunch running on the other side that we'll talk about. But today's main project really is to try to get water, or this week I should say, to get water in that bathroom so it's easier to flush. And I thought originally I wanted to run the water from the inside where those barrels are. And I thought to myself, I have a dehumidifier here basically dumping 6 to 7 gallons of water into this tank every single day. Wouldn't it be easier just to utilize that water instead? And I don't know how exactly they plumbed this place because you can see I got some massive holes up there. I should probably take a flashlight and look up there. But I'm pretty sure all the plumbing is in the ceiling, and then it comes down from the ceiling. So eventually at some point in time when I redo the plumbing, that's probably the same direction it's going to go. But I don't know if I want to have them go through the walls like they used to. I'd rather them be a little bit more accessible so it's easier to service, easier to see, and all the problems like that. One of the downsides of that is it looks ugly. So there's going to have to be a way to kind of hide things. I mean, they already did previously hide a lot of the plumbing pretty well. So for the heaters, for instance, you'll see there's this big wooden block thing in the corner. So that's actually where all the radiator piping goes through. So I could do something like that, but make it smaller. Since a normal residential structure only runs like a 1-inch, max 1-inch water line coming in, I think this whole building, I'm probably just going to run a 1-inch. So a 1-inch should support, if I recall correctly, 37 gallons per minute, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but showers are regulated basically by shower head to be 2.5 gallons per minute here. And it's been like that since 1992. And then faucets themselves are even lower than that, if I recall correctly. They're somewhere between 1.5, I think, to 2, maybe tops. And toilets actually don't matter at all. It's 1.28 gallons per flush. But once you flush a toilet, the likelihood of you reflushing it, I mean, I guess, depends on who you are, I suppose, is probably pretty low. So I think 37 gallons per minute is more than enough, just because even if like I have 2 showers upstairs or even a shower down here, 3 showers going simultaneously is 7.5 gallons a minute. And on top of that, the likelihood of that happening is really low. And I think the water heater might have an issue trying to output that kind of flow more than I'd have to worry about, you know, the actual water coming in. So I think a 1-inch line makes sense. The other side, the other house side, I mean, that's going to probably have a 1-inch line per floor because there's 4 bathrooms on each floor. And there is a possibility, let's say, if you had a lot of family members over, that you could have 4 showers simultaneously going at a time on a floor. So that would be 10 gallons per minute, which would really, really push whatever water heater or whatever's in there to the max. So I figured the easiest thing to do is try to tie in this barrel to the to the bathroom. And the whole bathroom's black, so I will turn on the lights here. So this bathroom's kind of small, so the whole bathroom's actually black. And it needs to be repainted, it needs to be redone. I mean, I have, I think that was a paper towel dispenser before. That's a soap dispenser. The only downside is I do have this outlet really high up on the wall because I kind of want to get rid of this vanity thing. So, and this sink is horrible. Like the actual knobs are like seized. So originally I wanted to drill a small hole under the sink somewhere, get rid of this plumbing. Obviously the drain is still going to be in the same place, but have a small hole, get a small vanity here, and then be able to put the heat and all the water under here. And then I would run like a pipe behind the vanity, a PEX pipe around, all the way to essentially the back of the toilet, and then that would have a valve that comes up that goes into it to fill the toilet. Now, I have a different thought now, which also is, it's not as, I don't know, people might not like this. But since this is all black, so this is behind the door, and that's the door stop, this is behind the door. Right on the other side of that wall is that barrel. And since this is behind a door, normally you're not going to pay attention even if I patch this up. But there is one key element that makes this a little bit easier is, behind here, I'm not sure if you can see, there used to be a fire extinguisher here. So the very first inspector told me to get rid of all the fire extinguishers, and that's what happened. So, if you can see, there's actually a big hole where the fire extinguisher used to be. And sorry, this is the dehumidifier running. And the beauty of that is, if I drill a hole through that, later on when I cover it up or repair it, you'll never see that hole. And then on the back side, and you can see all my fittings and stuff I'm getting ready to do all this stuff with. And on the back side, it won't really matter so much either because I don't think anyone's really going to be paying attention here if there's a repair spot or not. I mean, at least I don't think I will be. The only downside is we might have a blowout if we drill from the other side. I'd rather the blowout be on the other side. So I'm going to have to measure that, and then I could just run a line, like just a line around here, tack to the wall, right to the toilet, and then have that line come back around, right to the sink to fill up the sink and the little hot water tank. And that will essentially keep this area back here clean, which honestly, to be perfectly honest, I don't even care if there's a hole back here. I don't even care if there's a pipe that just, since it's temporary, I don't even care if there's a pipe that just goes right into the bathroom, to be fair. I suppose that'd be annoying if people are over, though. They can't close the door. But, I mean, I think that's the plan. And this is that little water heater over here. It's a 2.5 gallon water heater. It's just a point of use booster that you put under the sink. It's a 110 plug, which is good. There's a 110 in there. So I think the first thing I should probably do before I drill anything is climb up and look and see what the heck is in that hole. So I'm going to do that. Well, I did crawl up there, and I'm going to show you guys. I wouldn't call this not sketchy, but it's definitely kind of interesting. So if I can get up here and move you guys down. Oh yeah, so there's a copper supply line for a pipe, water pipe, which seems way too large. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, there's a supply pipe. There is a poop pipe there. You can clearly see the poop pipe in the background. I don't know if you guys can see any of this at all. There's a big poop pipe back there. It's connected by that rubber coupler over there. Love to see it. Not really. And over there, I mean, there's more poop pipes. More poop pipes. I might have to knock all of this out just to kind of get access to this. But it does seem like we do have some access to some of the mechanicals here, which is good. I think the ceiling is plastered though, so I'm gonna have to knock that out. I do see this is insulated and there's a stub out over here, but that stub out probably is frozen. I don't know what's under here either. This says 1 5/8 ID, 3/8 wall. It's insulated, which is also strange for interior because one would assume you would never have it ever freeze, but who knows? So, and then there's a large pipe here that goes all the way over there. I think that's a water supply line that goes down the wall as well. So, I think that sums up how the water lines are going. And because it is you know, coming from the ceiling, a lot of this ceiling up here is going to have to get cut open, or I'm gonna have to run lines differently because there's definitely supply lines on this side. Oh, that makes sense. Those huge lines are for these flushometers. That's why the supply lines are so large. They're flushometer lines. So that makes sense. It's like a 1 5/8 line for the supply for the flushometer, which makes sense why it's that big. We don't use those anymore. Well, actually, we might in commercial applications, but just not residential. So I'm gonna probably take most of that piping out and replace it with 1/2" line for all the fixtures in the bathroom. So still debating if I should drill that hole or I should go through the top. Because either way, the water's gonna have to get pumped in. The beauty of being out here is there's also a power outlet for the on-demand pump. So I could plug everything in out here and they'll just pump it straight in. And later on when I fix it, it'll just be completely covered up. You won't see it from the outside. You'll probably see a circular hole in the back that gets plumbed up. But I mean, aside from that, it's really not that big of a deal. And if I did put it closer to this side, it'll be really behind the door. So it would be really difficult to notice. So I think I might do that. I'm gonna do some measurements and see. Alright, so everyone keeps on complaining about the voiceovers / music. So I'm just gonna kind of explain what's going on here with no music. Essentially, I was thinking to myself, alright, well, I don't want the blowout to be on the inside, so maybe I should just drill a pilot hole and then drill it larger from the inside, so I don't have a blowout there. But this was really soft for some reason. And I was going through the mortar, so that went through quite easily, and it doesn't look terrible on the other side, as later you'll see. I just wanted the hole to be just big enough to fit this 1/2" PEX line in there. And as you see, there it is coming through. There's no crazy blowout or anything. I did end up using PEX B because this is what I had left over from another project in my house a few years ago. And I got this, the crimper instead of the push-to-fit. The push-to-fits are more expensive, obviously. Each one of the fittings are probably around 10, 15 bucks each. These crimps are literally pennies, and the crimper itself is a Amazon special, which was I think $25. The biggest downside of this type of crimper is once you're limited in space, it's very difficult to kind of get everything crimped down. It's it requires a decent amount of force. So I just want to tape this to make sure it's in the right orientation, and I put a little pipe strap there just in case it gets pulled through, though this is probably not necessary, especially because no one's pulling on this this strap. So once that's secured, I'm gonna put another 90 here, and then I have a small adapter that converts PEX to PVC. So I've been told not to use PEX connections on RV pumps just because there is inherent vibration from the pump, which may loosen everything up. So what I'm using there is actually a pipe straightener. So this is actually made for copper pipe. This is it's actually made for automotive use. It's not actually made for PEX or any of these uses. They all work the same though. This is when you buy a coil of copper or brass piping for brake lines. Use that to straighten it out so you can place it under the car. It's a lot cheaper to buy them in coils. Same thing with PEX. It's a lot cheaper to buy them in like a 100-foot coil than, let's say, 10-foot sections and have to join them together, because every joint point you have is a additional failure point. So one piece is always better than multiple spliced together. So there's that PEXA PVC piece going on, and I did use this big clamp because I thought it would be better. Oh yeah, so I'm pouring in, I guess it's coagulating balls. They're like, I forget what the toy's called, but they're basically small, hard balls that you pour into the toilet, and then they turn into solid balls. So when you remove the toilet, it doesn't spill water out over. So, and that toilet is filled with previous poop water from a known friend over here of the channel, Jordan, and I've put 30 gallons of water down there, and for some reason it's still a little bit tainted. So I definitely don't want any of that spilling out and hitting me in the mouth. So here I'm just measuring everything, and I'm drilling holes for these pipe straps just to keep them along the wall, and that way, you know, it looks nicer, I suppose. And there are a lot of holes already on this wall, so I feel like a couple more holes later that I have to repair will not be too big of an issue. So I'm just making sure all of these are crimped and set in place before taking that toilet out. And I honestly am waiting for someone to come by to give me a hand with the toilet, because I don't want to drop that or spill toilet water everywhere. There's that straightener again. It's actually a pretty good tool. I don't remember how much it was, but I will leave an Amazon link in the description if anyone wants to check out that straightener tool. It is pretty helpful. Just keep in mind, it won't make it perfectly straight. It'll just get it straight enough. So you're still going to have to do a little bit of hand bending. If you're running this stuff around the, around the outside, and you want to see perfect lines, it's still going to be real difficult. But also, it's very difficult to get straight PEX pieces as well. So this is the brand new toilet. It is the Home to Pot Special. It literally cost $109, I think. It was the cheapest toilet they had. That was elongated. It has decent reviews. I did do a measurement of the tank, and the tape portion on the wall right there is where the toilet fill valve is going to be. So that's where I need to put the T to come out. And here's the flushometer coming out, and you can see that 1 5/8 inch inlet pipe, which we will definitely not be using anymore. I'm still very confused on how they attach these, because they're not threaded in by any means, and I don't see any solder, so I'm just cutting them straight off. The tank should hopefully hide this. Eventually I will use an inside cutter to cut it and hide it later. Alright guys, midnight shenanigans. So as I said, I could run water behind this barrel, which is number one. I don't know if I just drilled through motor, because I think I did, because it was like crumbly. It was super easy to drill through. So that was something. But the idea is we have our PEX. We have a transition that goes from PEX to PVC. And that is a special fitting right here. It's a special fitting right here. So one side is for PEX. That's the PEX side. And that side is for clamping on PVC. So I have that fitting right here between these two, and there's the second pump, and our barrel's here, and our dehumidifier basically just drops water right into here. So you can already see there's probably, like, say maybe 10-15 gallons of water in there already. So the idea is if we can elevate it, we can actually get more water out the bottom if I drill it lower. That is not the case for this one. So this probably has about 20 gallons that we can't use. But that's also good in case there's debris in it, but there probably shouldn't be. So, this bathroom's really cramped, so we're going to kind of navigate through here. So, no good way to say this. Somebody, aka maybe Jordan, should be unnamed, but took a massive dump in here. And I've been trying to flush this water down for, I don't know, ever. Probably 50 gallons of water have gone here, and it has not gone down. So what I did was I put in a Oatly solidification pack. So essentially it's like Orbeez, turns into small balls. That way you don't spill water everywhere. So I've dumped that in there. So that's solid. I've cut this out. That pipe was super crusty. And if we go around back here, basically you can see that going through the wall. It's actually in a mortar joint, so it'll be easy to repair. not a big deal. And then I put these pipe clamps on. I know these are going to leave small holes, but that's fine. They'll get covered up. I mean, I have literally holes everywhere, hole. So they're all going to have to get patched anyway, so that's not a big deal. So the idea is we are going to run that pipe around here. I'm going to take the toilet out, run the pipe along the bottom. I mark that tape, and that's where I'm going to put the T-valve in to fill the toilet. And that's going to come all the way back around on this side to the sink. Now this sink is going to get knocked out. This sink is a complete piece of crap. These are all like pretty seized. Well, not super seized, but seized enough that it's not nice to use. Also, it's really dirty. It's a weird shape. I'm going to get a smaller vanity to go here. We have about 60 inches, but I didn't want a vanity where, you know, if I'm over here and I open the door, it hits the toilet. So I'm thinking maybe 30 inches, somewhere around here. Throw a garbage can on that side, whatnot. Get rid of this medicine cabinet mirror. It's pretty disgusting. I did want to put like a full mirror across here just to make the space look a little bit better. But we have a outlet smack dab in the middle of that, so I think that's going to be kind of hard. So I could get a flat mirror here and then put another mirror over here, but I don't know, like just to make the bathroom look bigger, like I could, you know, put more mirrors in. That would give the illusion of it being bigger. But I don't really, like, once again, this is not like a final project. This is just getting this toilet to work. So when you're here working, you're not pressured to go down the street to the McDonald's to, you know, do your business. So originally, like I said, I was going to drill a hole through here and run it. So either way, it doesn't really matter. Like either way, there's going to be piping running across the whole thing. I have a bunch of leftover PEX from a different project. So that's why I'm using PEX B and not PEX A. And PEX B is a huge pain in the butt. I'm using the crimp rings. Either way, you're going to have to use crimp rings or some sort of, or push to connect, which, a word about push to connect. So this is a push to connect fitting. It goes on. So push to connect fittings will fail within 10 years. There's O-rings inside of this. So these O-rings are only rated for 10 years. So no matter how, you know, secure you think these are, in 10 years, these are going to fail. Generally, new builders will use PEX A, which is expansion. So you'll put a collar like this on, and you have a Milwaukee tool, which I do have, to expand it and, you know, put this on. And that should last like a pretty long time, like 20, 30 years at minimum. I've seen 30-year-old PEX pipes that, and CPVC pipes that still exist. The crimp rings aren't bad. They are very, very cheap, and that's why I got them. So you can get a pack of these for a couple bucks. The tool is $25. The only downside is it does require a significant amount of force to use and to get into really tight spots. It's kind of difficult. Like you'll see, like, and also setting the ring in the exact same spot is difficult. I mean, you could tape it, but that's like an added step. So, and then push to connect. You're gonna want to get one of these. This reams the. This has a little knife in the inside. So actually, that little circle is actually the knife. And then you'll ream it so the edge on it does not cut the little O-ring inside, which gives it its sealing capabilities. Also, these, when you push them in, you mark a line right where this goes in, and that's how deep you gotta push those in to make sure they're perfectly seated. So our new toilet is over here. You know, it's sitting on the ground over here, and it's tanked. It's a newer toilet, so it doesn't require that monster, you know, flushometer. And what I want to do is I want to pick up some plugs. It's like I said, it's in the middle of the night, so it's real difficult to do some of this stuff right now because Home Depot, Lowe's, all these hardware stores are closed. I do want to plug so I can pressure test this first before putting everything back. Like, obviously, once this is filled, this is 485 pounds about of water. So I don't want to be, you know, trying to fish all of this out and trying to get to that later. So I'm going to do that. And then what is nice is there are outlets out here. So if I do want to run the pump out here, which I probably will, just underneath here on a board or something, I could just run the water out, go down under. The pump will always be prime. The pump will always have water to it because it's lower than the barrel. And it should pressurize the toilet, which is pretty important, and then the sink, which is also nice to wash your hands. You're not pouring water on it. And for the sink, I need a T because I have this guy here. This is a off-brand, but really cheap. I think this was like $89 or something crazy. It's a 2.5 gallon just water heater. So you turn it on, it heats the water in here to maybe like 100, 150 degrees. And when you turn on the hot water, cold water just comes through here and it pushes out the hot water through the hot water tap. So I think for washing your hands, you're probably not going to need 2.5 gallons of hot water, to be fair. But as a variable setting, you turn it on, turn it off. It should be relatively efficient, and it does fit under most sinks. So that's why I got this. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Like, I'm real tired. I'm going to call it tonight because it's I don't know, it's got to be like 2 or 3 a.m. Tomorrow, I'm going to come back, pressure test this, install that toilet. I do think I'm going to need an extra hand pulling that toilet. That's why I haven't pulled it yet. And what I'm super, super scared of is that other side had 3 wax rings. The toilet flange was so damaged. It had 3 wax rings. And in preparation of that, I did buy a flange repair kit. 2, actually. I honestly don't think these are going to work. So this is a rubber flange repair kit. And then this is a bolt over metal flange repair kit that goes over. It's kind of, I think they kind of want you to put this on PVC or wood, which I have concrete, which I suppose I could hammer drill it, put some tap cons in to hold it in, but also once again. And then to be extra prepared, I bought 6 wax rings because I'm not going to do a great job on this if I'm doing it solo. And the thing is, originally, I was not planning on using a wax ring. I honestly recommend these guys instead. So wax rings, the biggest issue is once they get put down, they deform. And you don't really want the deformity because once it deforms and you move it around, it no longer seals. So you have to throw it out. So I like these. So these are... It's a silicone gasket, so technically, like, even if you move it around a little bit, it'll just reconform itself. But the problem with this is, it's, you can't stack 2 of them on top of each other. So if you do need height difference, I mean, it does look like it has a pretty deep flange. So maybe it'll be okay. But then also, I don't want, for the first flush, just water to go all over the floor. By the way, I got both just in case. Like I said, I would recommend this over the other one, but, you know, wax ring, tried and true. It's been around for decades, and it works great in most applications if you can just plop it down. The toilet actually itself, if you look, the exit is actually really small for some reason. I think the baby toilets that I took out have a bigger exit than this, so... I don't know. I guess we'll have Jordan put it to the test later. So that's for tomorrow. And through the magic of editing, you'll probably see this immediately. All right. Bye. All right. It is a day afterwards, and it is time to remove this toilet. I do have Derek and Jordan with me today. Once again, this bathroom's so cramped that there's no need for both of them. But they both showed up. So anywho... Basically, this guy, I was thinking, you know, the bolts aren't bad, so I'll just unbolt them. And halfway through, they just start spinning because it's so rusty and corroded. So I had to bring out the I'm not asking tool. And here is the toilet getting lifted off. And look how disgusting that is underneath. I did manage to get a trash bag over the toilet. And here's our test. So I'm dumping probably 2 or 3 gallons of water down this trap. Well, I shouldn't say trap. I should just say toilet flange because it doesn't smell like sewer gas. So it doesn't smell that bad. So I know the other side, when we remove that, we would see water pool up at the bottom. And there's that wax ring. We'd see water pool up at the bottom, which signified there was a trap. And it didn't look like there was a trap on this. So I wanted to know where the water was going because it didn't smell. Like, it definitely didn't smell like sewer gas, which is shocking. We came to a conclusion the building might have a central trap on itself. So there might be a trap under the building somewhere that just keeps the sewer gas out, even though each one of these individual drains does not have one. So that was vacuuming out all the loose dirt and debris. So this toilet was slightly loose and it rocked a little bit. but the flange does seem like it's in good condition. And this is really our only opportunity until this toilet gets replaced to wash under here. So I just have a bunch of concentrated bleach here to kind of clean the bottom a little bit, just to make sure everything is cleaner than it was. And at the bottom there, I will be adding some mortar just to make the toilet sit down a little bit more solid. And while this is out, this is the time to put in the rest of the PEX that goes around the room. So here's that crimp again, and once again, it's hard to tell here, but in those tight spaces, it is very, very difficult to use that crimper. And this is considered wide open. So here it is. Here I am just hammer drilling some of these small holes to hold this in. That is the position in which we have our toilet valve, and I had this valve already on hand. So it's a push to connect that I am about to put there. That's why I reamed it. I was debating if I should just get a crimp one as well, but then I thought to myself, is it worth it for another $20, $30 to get another valve just for this so everything matches when this is quote unquote supposed to be temporary? And I said, it's probably not. So that pipe was reamed, marked, and that push to connect fitting is on. And also, once again, this is quote unquote temporary, so this definitely shouldn't be here for 10 years. And if it was, so just for those that do use push to connects, if it is, it's fine as long as it's in a accessible position. Like, you don't want this thing sitting in a wall somewhere. 10 years later, it bursts, and then you have to go fish it out. If it's on the surface here and you can see it, if it does start leaking, even the smallest amount of leakage, you will be able to see, and it is very easy to replace. Hopefully you don't have super hard water, because if you do, you will get a lot of calcium buildup around the O-rings, which makes it difficult to pull off. But that's that, and we will move on to moving the new toilet in after all of this is placed in.
Alright, so this pipe goes around, and I've capped it at the end. There are going to be two coming out of this side, one to the hot water tank and then one to the cold water. That T is a push to fit that's already been placed in line. I just realized it's crooked. That drill does wander, so hopefully no one will notice that once it's behind the toilet. This flange is very rusty and depressed. So I think what I will do is put some mortar around it just to make sure it stays level. And I'm gonna go mix that up now, and then we're gonna pressure test this line, because we definitely don't want to put the toilet in and have water explode everywhere. All right, pressure test. You ready? Yeah. Well, it shut off. It's not leaking. It doesn't seem like it is, at least. Yep. All right. So that's pressurized. That pump is way quieter than the other one, by the way. All right, I'm going to see how the pressure relief is on this side for the toilet. So this is connected. Well, very poorly connected. And then this is a T-valve, so this should work. Yeah, there you go. Water's coming out of it.
It's decent flow. That pump kick back on?
Yeah, it should. Derek, do you hear that pump kick back on?
No.
All right, so go by the pump.
Yep.
If I turn it on, it should kick on. Ready?
Yep. Yep.
It's on?
Yeah.
All right. It's off.
That is a really quiet pump.
Yeah, it's really quiet. We'll call that a success, and now we just need to put this back on, mortar that, and place the toilet back in.
All right, guys, that seems like a good place to stop. This is probably part 1 of 3, maybe, because it is a 2-hour long raw unedited video. So this was a lot longer than I anticipated, and I know a lot of you guys do not like super long videos, and being 35 minutes almost already, I think it's getting to the point where people are falling asleep. But anyways, I will put out the next part on Wednesday, and if there is a third part, that should be out on Friday or Thursday. Hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you guys in 2 days. And a special thanks to all our channel members. I appreciate you dearly. Thank you. Bye.